Look, screw this movie, okay? Because I was not expecting to be crying my eyes out so hard as I was after this movie was over before it even hit 12 noon yesterday when I saw it. Oh man. And welcome to my safe gaming. Thank you guys so much for joining me and clicking on another video here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. Let me introduce myself. If this is your first time checking me out. Hey, how's it going? My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek. And I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk about superheroes, I like to talk about video games, I like to talk about action movies, sci-fi, animated movies, fantasy, horror, and of course, I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you are interested in, if you think representation matters, if you think representation should equal normalization, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Check out the other videos on my channel. Comment on the other videos. Introduce yourself in the comment section. And also, while you're at it, on every single video that I post, if you like what I had to say, you like my opinion, or you like my personality, do me a favor, watch to the end for the watch time. Hit the like button to tell the YouTube algorithm that the video that you're watching is worth getting out there to recommend to more people. Watch, like, share, comment, interact on the videos for the all gay rhythm. Guys, this Thursday, December 1st, I was recently just invited to the Universal press screening room for a screening for the latest film coming out of Universal, or rather Focus Features, called Spoiler Alert. And I believe the movie has a limited release this weekend and it goes for a wider release next week, I believe. And the movie Bros made a big splash on the media scene, at least, because it was the first gay movie to be financed by a major studio. And I thought Spoiler Alert was going to be the second because Universal, but actually no, this movie was made by Focus Features and Universal is just distributing the movie. And Focus Features is an independent arm or an independent leg of Universal. And not to do a full comparison because they are two different types of movies, but even still, at the end of the day, even before I saw Bros in theaters, which if you haven't seen my Bros review, you could click the link up here. But from the moment I saw both trailers, I was like, I don't know, something tells me that Spoiler Alert is going to be the better movie. Well, let's talk about it. This is a non-spoiler review, obviously, because the movie just came out in theaters. So yeah, let's talk about Spoiler Alert, even though I kind of said what my reaction was in the intro of the video. But yeah, let's talk about it. So Spoiler Alert is directed by Michael Showalter, and he also did The Big Sick, which I never saw, and he also did the Netflix movie with Issa Rae and Kamal Nanjiani, Lovebirds, which I also reviewed Lovebirds when it first came out. So if you haven't seen my review for Lovebirds, which came out in 2020, but check the link up here. And Spoiler Alert tells the tale of writer Michael-Simeon embarks on a roller coaster ride of emotions when his partner gets diagnosed with terminal cancer. And this movie is actually based off a book of the real life Michael-Simeon, and the book is called, spoiler alert, The Hero Dies. And so with that, there's no real ambiguity about what happens and what ultimately this movie is about. And funny enough, I didn't know going into this movie that it was based off a real life story. And so when I found that out, at the end of the movie when it said, based on the real life, and then they also they showed clips of the real characters, that hit me. Again, like I said in the intro of this movie, this movie had me cry a good hour after this movie was over, because I had to go to New York to go see the movie at the Universal screening room. And then funny enough, after I got out the theaters, it was raining that day. And so I'm walking the streets of New York again, and I had to see the movie The screening was at like 10 o'clock, and I got out of the movie right before noon. And so I'm walking the streets of New York around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, just crying out of nowhere. And I'm by myself because I went to the screening by myself, and I'm just walking the streets. Movie was over, I'm just walking, and then all of a sudden I started thinking more about the movie, and I just started bawling. I had to distract myself, and that was happening off and on because I kept thinking about it off and on. And every time I thought about it, I started crying. That happened off and on for like the next hour after I saw the movie, after the movie was done. Oh man. And so because of that, I ended up calling a friend of mine because he was supposed to come with me to the screening, but he ended up not being able to make it. And while I was telling him that, he was like, "Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it." And I was like, but did I enjoy it though? Because like, I was not, and I said this, I tweeted about it and I posted the status here on YouTube. I was just like, I was not expecting to be bawling my eyes out today, or especially this early in the morning before even hit 12 noon. And so I was like, did I enjoy it though? Like, I don't know if this experience I enjoyed, but obviously from a movie standpoint, if I'm crying, it definitely did its job. Now, with that said, playing the role of Michael Asiello is Jim Parsons. He's also, I believe, him and his husband are the executive producers of this movie, and most people know him as Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. I've never seen Big Bang Theory, so really this is like outside of, what was that Netflix show, Hollywood or something like that? This is only the second time I've really seen Jim Parsons in anything. And he is so good in this role. Like, obviously he's mostly known for comedy, but again, like I said, I've never seen Big Bang Theory, so I don't really know his comedic chops. But in terms of like drama, from the Hollywood show on Netflix, was created by Ryan Murphy. And then this, like, he's incredible when it comes to like dramatic acting. And I would definitely love to see him in more dramatic roles. And playing his co-lead, his co-star, Kit, who ends up being, the spoiler alert, the one that dies at the end, the one that gets the terminal cancer, is played by Ben Aldridge. And he's actually currently playing Thomas Wayne on the HBO Max drama series based off of Batman called Pennyworth. I haven't really watched Pennyworth. I've seen some of it, but it was interesting. I'm not gonna get into it because obviously I haven't really watched enough of it to review, but it was interesting, but there's so much content out right now that I get distracted by other things. But I haven't really seen him in Pennyworth because it was before his character really showed up. But I do gotta say, like, look at these photos. The moment he came on screen, I was like, oh, he is cute. I was like, I don't know who you are, but I want to get to know you. Like, look at these photos. And it turns out, not that it means anything, I would never meet this person. It doesn't, who cares? But he's gay in real life, so. But with that said, obviously, you know, I'm making jokes and I'm laughing and I'm smiling. But yeah, like I said, this movie was heavy. Like I said, I was crying a good hour after the movie was over. And so with that, like, the majority of this movie is following the relationship and the love and the introduction and the ups and downs of Michael Asiello and Kit and how they first met. And it's really just a love story. This movie was created and made by Michael Asiello. Both the movie and the book was commissioned by Michael Asiello as basically a love story to his partner and husband, Kit. And this movie is really just a celebration of honoring that life and love because they had 14 years together. And also, I forgot to mention that playing Kit Cohen's mother is the legendary Sally Field, and Kit's father is played by Bill Irwin. And to be a little critical regarding the movie, I could see if there are some people that maybe do not necessarily, not like the movie, because I think the movie was good, but I can see if there are people that walk away from the movie not really enjoying it, because for the most part, because this movie is so centralized and so focused on specifically their relationship, and then also the fact that, you know, at the end of this movie, the character of Kit is going to die. And so this movie is really focused heavily on the looming death that's gonna happen at the end of the movie. I could see people walking away from this movie not really enjoying it on that sense because it's really just driven by that. And then also because of that, like, you're so focused on the relationship between Kit and Michael, you don't really get a whole lot of character from the other characters in this movie. It's really just because it's told from Michael's perspective. So you're really just getting the relationship between Michael, Kit, and then also the relationship between Kit's parents and how it relates to their relationship with Michael and Kit. You also don't really get a lot from, like, because there are other characters in this movie besides the four of them, but for the most part, they're just there. They're just auxiliary characters. In a lot of ways, they don't really add much to the story. And so because of that, because it's really telling just this one centralized focused story, I can see how there are people that wouldn't really vibe with that in a sense. Because in a lot of moments, this movie is really just driven by the conversations, their interaction, the love, how they meet, they're falling in love, their ups and downs, their turmoils, but there isn't really a lot going on in terms of, like, I don't know how I describe. Like, there's a good part of the movie where it's a lot of scenes just them sitting and talking or just standing and talking. But I've said this before when it came to, like, Hawkeye, the episode between Kate Bishop and Yelena Belova, and it's also the strength of the actors, where it's like, if actors have great chemistry together, I can just sit and watch an entire movie or entire episode of them just talking and bantering. And I do feel like the chemistry between Jim Parsons and Ben Aldridge was incredible. Like, unlike, again, I said I didn't want to compare it, but, like, I felt the chemistry between the two of them more than I felt the chemistry between, I can't think of the actors' names, but the actors and bros. But I feel like because that's essentially what the story is, it's a memorial more or less, and it's an honoring of this person and this relationship. I feel like because of that, it didn't really bother me, because the story that I got and building of this relationship and the fact that it is a gay movie, it's a queer romance and things like that. And that's something that you don't really see a lot of especially on the big screen in movies. I appreciated this story, because how many straight stories, even sad stories, do we have that are told time and time and time again? It's about time we get queer stories, and there are a lot of sad queer stories out there, especially when you get to, like, the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, stories that need and should be told. But also with that, I can understand why some people might not want to see a movie like this, especially if you've gone through something like this yourself, because it can be a little triggering. And I personally have not had to deal with the type of loss that Michael Asiello had to deal with in his real life. So I can't even imagine the pain that he went through. Because again, this is based on a true life story, and Michael Asiello is still alive and with us. He actually started following me on Instagram, so shout out to Michael. I doubt he's gonna be watching this review, but, like, I can't imagine the pain that he had to go through in his real life with the loss of the love of his life, his husband, and then having to write it down in a memoir and then reliving this as the movie's getting told. Like, it probably was both painful and probably a little cathartic to honor his husband, more or less. But with that said, I can see how this could be triggering. And then I think part of the reason that I was bawling so much outside of the movie in and of itself is because I literally just got finished watching Black Panther Wakanda Forever 3 times, not even that long ago. The movie just came out, and then having to relive the death of Chadwick Boseman, who also died from cancer, and they had T'Challa die in the movie. And so having that in my mind as well. And then also this past September, I recently lost my childhood best friend. She didn't die of cancer. It's still, like, all of that popped into my mind, and I started thinking about all of that as I was watching this movie. And just the fact of, like, you know, just grief and death, and how, you know how they say nothing in life is guaranteed? The only thing in life that is guaranteed is death. And I just started thinking about how, like, my parents are getting older, they're in their 70s. Like, all of those emotions started coming into my mind at the end of this movie. Like, oh man. But yeah, ultimately, like, I don't even know how else to review this movie other than, like, the fact that I cried. I was bawling my eyes out. I guess I enjoyed it in that sense, because it did its job. But like, I will say for me personally though, because it was so heavy, I don't know if this is a movie I would watch again. Like, it reminds me very much of something of a movie like Precious, for example. Even though I really enjoyed Precious and I thought the acting was incredible, the story, all of that stuff, that movie was so heavy. I don't think I would ever, or not, I don't think, I won't, and I haven't watched Precious again. But with that said, a movie like Precious is still in my mind. Like, I still remember it very vividly, and I feel like it would be the same with spoiler alert. Even though because it was so heavy, I won't watch it again, it's probably gonna still stick in my mind. But with that said, I do hope this movie does well at the box office, even despite, like, you still see it once, but like, yeah, I hope it does well, because I want studios to realize that just because Bros didn't do well at the box office doesn't mean that gay movies don't need to be told in theaters. And then also, Bros didn't do well at the box office for a very specific reason. It's not because it was a gay rom-com. There's a bunch of other reasons behind that, which again, I talked about in my review. So check that out again if you haven't. But I feel weird I'm not even gonna give my rating for this movie, but my normal rating systems, because I feel weird about that, especially considering it is based off a real person's life. But I will say it's definitely worth watching and definitely worth checking out. So that would be my rating for spoiler alert. And most of us can only wish and dream of having a relationship that we can love and honor so much to the point that we want to make a movie about it, and 14-year-long relationship. So yeah. But anyway, with that said, are you guys interested in seeing spoiler alert? Did you see the trailer? Did you see spoiler alert already? By the time this review goes up, let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. It'll really help out with the channel. And if it's your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And also, guys, if you are catching this review today, December 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live here on the channel to celebrate the milestone of hitting over 7,000 subscribers. I'm going to be doing a live Q&A, so if there's something that you ever wanted to ask me, or you just want to hang out for a good hour or so, let's just chat, hit me up, join me in the live, hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when the live happens. You can join me. And so yeah, tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel, about the live, to pull up. And yeah, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.